Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of the Arsenal News Show. Joining you every morning at 8 a.m. UK time, keeping you up to date in the world of Arsenal. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Good morning. Welcome to Match Day. Arsenal face Manchester United away at Old Trafford this afternoon. I'll be heading up to the Northwest just after the show has completed, although it's fair to say that my packing went nowhere. I haven't even started. I need to do that pretty quickly. So it's been one of those days where you wake up and you're like, oh God, I can't get out of bed. So I'm going to be doing that swiftly upon the conclusion of today's show, which probably means it's going to be slightly shorter than usual. But I think you can forgive me for even doing a show on a Sunday on a match day when I'm traveling 5 hours there, 5 hours back in one day. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. But good morning to everybody in the chat box. Good morning to Daniel. Good morning to James Fuller and Black Sean and Stevie and Jose. Good morning to Rich and Game Day Matt G. Ray, good morning to you and Carlton and Carl and Runs with Cows and Stephen, Tony and Kaiser and Black Shine and Udarile. Good morning. Hope you are having a fantastic weekend so far. Yesterday was great. Had a chilled day off. Managed to have a couple of non-alcoholic beverages. Beverages? That's not a word. I can't even remember what the word is these days. Anyway, it was a great day. Enjoyed myself. And a great follow-on, of course, from the live show on Friday night. But make sure you do go check out Beveraginos. That's the word. Go check out the latest prize on Football Prizes. You can obviously still win. There's 20 tickets, I think, left in the competition. Link in the description. You can get a hospitality ticket to Arsenal against PSV, with plenty of opportunities to win some instant prizes like a signed Zinchenko shirt and Tony Adams shirt as well, and much more. Also, vote for us in the FCA tonight. Voting closes at midnight, so if you haven't voted already, what are you doing? If you can actually vote on multiple things. So if you voted on Twitter, go and vote on the website. If you voted on the website, go and vote on Twitter. If you voted on Instagram, go vote on Twitter. You can do it across all of them. So vote across every single platform you can. Helps us loads. We also did a preview yesterday, which shows to scale Lisandro Martinez. And we did our preview yesterday with Dan and Simon, looking ahead to today's game against Man United, where we looked at the lineups. We talked about some of the injury news, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a bit. And, of course, our predictions ahead of the game as well. The under-21s beat Blackburn 4-1. Really good performance from the young guns. However, there was a contrasting performance and result for the under-18s, who lost 4-2 to Newcastle. Hopefully they can turn things around. Jack Wilshere's under-18s, of course, not had the best start to the season. Hopefully Jack can turn things around very soon indeed. They did, I believe, win against Spurs, if my memory serves me well, but lost 4-2 against Newcastle. So certainly one that needs changing. Hopefully Jack, as I say, can start turning things around a bit quickly. City and Liverpool both dropped points in their games yesterday. Liverpool drawing 0-0 against Newcastle. Where at Newcastle? It wasn't Newcastle, was it? Who was it? Everton, sorry. It was the complete mind blank. Yeah, 0-0 against Everton, in which arguably Everton should have probably got a win out of that game, which kind of shows you how bad Liverpool are this season. Manchester City, meanwhile, drew against Douglas Luiz's Aston Villa. Of course, that kind of raised the argument of, well, we've beaten Fulham, who've taken points off Liverpool. We've beaten Aston Villa, who have now taken points off of Manchester City. It kind of shows that there are no easy games. So despite people saying that, the fixture list has been kind, and arguably it has, sure, you still have to win those games. And teams aren't winning the games that they should win, and Arsenal are. So I think that we should absolutely be thrilled with the way in which we've started the current season. And Aston Villa should have won the game, because Coutinho's strike, which was a brilliant one, he was onside in the build-up to that. Every single time a player is played through, the referee keeps the linesman keeps their flag down, waits and waits and waits, and then puts it up at the last minute. And sometimes it's infuriating, because obviously it's clearly offside and they should have made the decision. This was not one of those situations. How the official could have even known where Coutinho was in that moment, because it was kind of a weird deflected pass and Coutinho ran back and took it on. I don't know what in terms of the rule, it was a back pass, but because Coutinho was obviously ahead of the player that he back passed to, I don't know if he was in an offside position, if it even would have been offside anyway, but he was onside whatever, because the defender was playing him on. Should have absolutely been a goal, should have stood. And who knows, for Aston Villa's season, that could be pivotal. If they go down or miss out on something by 2 points, 1 point, they'll look back on this game as, again, the officials making some rather silly decisions. And we are going to have to deal with potentially more of that today because Mr. Paul Tierney, my least favourite current working official, is going to be taking charge of the game today against Arsenal and between Manchester United. He lives in the Greater Manchester area. I can't get my head. When I was growing up, one of the things that I always used to look to, and call me sad all you like, but I used to look at kind of where officials would live in relation to the teams that they were officiating. He lives in Manchester. He comes from Manchester. What is this going on? How could this happen? How can this be allowed that officials are officiating games where they live? Are we just saying that it's because of travel? In my view, and call me mad for this, but I feel like referees should have to travel further than the away teams. That should be like a staple. The officials should have to travel further than the away fans are traveling. If you can get up and take a 20-minute stroll to the stadium, that shouldn't be the case. You should not be allowed to officiate if you can take a 20-minute stroll to the game. I think it's obviously more than that. It's like a 20-minute drive, but still, it's a joke. Like, how can this be allowed? And I think the guy who's on VAR, whose name escapes me, is from Bolton. I saw someone tweet yesterday, which is in the Greater Manchester area as well. It's just expect, as Tim Stillman tweeted last night, I think it was, to expect some, quote, rascal decisions. I didn't put Tim Stillman down as the type to use rascal in a tweet, but I found that very amusing. But yeah, I think that's fair. Rascal decisions incoming this afternoon. So just be prepared for that. Because it's going to get real. Anyway, the big news of the evening last night was the news regarding team news. Zinchenko, Ben White, Rambo, and Odegaard have all travelled for the game, which is fantastic news. I will say what I said on yesterday's preview show, which is don't get your excitement up about Zinchenko just yet, because as my tweet said, I feel like this guy could have got frostbite and still travelled. There's nothing keeping this guy off of the team bus at the moment. Even if he's got a broken ACL or something, I reckon he'd still go and support the team. So just because he's travelled doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to start or even be in the squad. Who knows? So I'm keeping my expectations a bit tempered because of that. But, what we could see from this team is something special if everyone is indeed available. Odegaard coming back in, Ramsdale being available, White being available. If Zinchenko can come into the team, even play in midfield if we needed him to, great. Get him some minutes. If he can come off the bench, I think that we've got a great chance. Even without that, people have complained about Arsenal's depth. You go watch the preview show yesterday. Even without Odegaard, even without White, even without Zinchenko, we can bring in Emile Smith-Rowe, Takahiro Tomiyasu, and Kieran Tierney. And people have been moaning about depth in this squad, but I'm sorry, that's three great players coming into three crucial positions that last season we wouldn't have had. If Tierney got injured, we were down to Tavares. Tavares, who was done really well on loan this season, but just not of the same kind of caliber, let's be real. If we'd have lost Odegaard last season, Smith-Rowe was kind of playing on the left-hand side, but we really didn't have anything else. If we didn't have Vieira, Vieira is now here. I don't think he's going to feature in terms of a debut. Who knows? He might get an opportunity off the bench. But the point of Vieira is that when we lose Odegaard potentially in the future, once she's been bedded in, we've got Vieira there to be that creative spark and more natural central player than Smith-Rowe is. But we've still got Smith-Rowe. And of course, now we've got Saliba in the group, who White is covering at right back brilliantly at the moment. But if White's out, Saliba's still there, and you've got Tomiyasu to come in. We've got depth. We have genuinely got depth in this team. And I love the tweets that people were putting out yesterday of like comparing our squad to Man City's squad and to Liverpool's squads. And to be honest, there's not too much difference between the three teams at all in terms of depth. The issue is strength and depth and quality, not quantity. And I get that. But also, you can't use the argument when arguing back to those kind of team comparisons of quality over quantity, because the quality was, for me, not necessarily out there for us. And I respect the decision to not go out and spend money for the sake of spending money, which is what we've done in the past, and it's never done us well. Anyway, that completes all of today's stories. So we're going to go to part 2 and your questions. So if you've indeed got any questions you'd like to throw into the chat box, now is the time to do it. So without further ado, let's do that after this very quick break. So do go get your tickets. There's only 20 left, as I say. About that, someone might have even bought some between now and me making this slideshow. But let's have a quick check. Yeah, there have. So there's only 18 tickets left. 2 people have bought during this show alone. So 18 tickets left. Make sure you check all your travel details before you get involved as well, of course, because it is a game that you'll have to attend, or have to attend, I suppose, if you win. I mean, why wouldn't you attend if you won the tickets? It'd be a bit weird. And then, of course, do vote for us in the Content Awards as well. Today is the last day that you can get us into those nominations. Let's tackle your questions without further ado. Let's go in and see what you guys are saying. Let's go a little bit higher to Flipside, who says, is it even possible to have a Premier League referee assigned to our game who isn't from Greater Manchester? It's a good question. And, you know, this is why I talk about adding diversity, not just diversity in terms of background, but diversity in terms of giving opportunities to people that are, you know, from other areas of the country that aren't represented, you know, that are, you know, living in other areas of the country that aren't represented in Premier League officiating. Why is there so many officials that live in the north? Why are there none given the opportunity in the south? It's very, very strange that there is kind of this leaning preference. Is it people's mates? Are we doing mates rates? Is that what it is? We're just recommending our friends who also live up north. I also like that Paul Tierney is going through kind of this evolution to full refereedom by getting rid of his hair. Is that now like a Premier League staple that you need to have little to no hair? You know, I imagine that, you know, in 5 years or so time, when I eventually start losing this even more, maybe I could qualify. But right now, you know, it's quite mad when you see it. Let's go to scrolling up a little bit more. Michael says, who's putting a Xhaka red card bet on for simply looking at Ronaldo today? Oh, the Xhaka red card. At what point will it happen this season? Place your bets now. Clockwork Tangerine says, Tom, did you know that the 03-04 season, our invincible season, our 6th game of the season was a trip to Old Trafford? Do we dare believe? Yes, I did know that. The famous Battle of Old Trafford, the war, I suppose, in the Northwest, with Van Nistelrooy hitting the bar in the 92nd minute with a penalty. And I mean, just imagine that Ronaldo gets a penalty and hits the bar at 1-1. You can just see it, a repeat of history. And we all know what happened after that game and what Arsenal went on to achieve. Bradley says, Tom, would you like to see Eddie give it a chance today in the middle of a 3-4-3? He's had a couple of great cameos off the bench, and I think he'd be a handle for Martinez. I don't think we need to start him, especially if Odegaard is fit. And I think he's going to get his opportunities with the Europa League game against Zurich coming up on Thursday. So Nketiah is expected to probably feature and play and start in that game. So no, but he will come off the bench at some point. It seems to be the case with him. You can't drop Jesus. I know you can move Jesus to the right potentially if you have, say, a 3-4-3 as Smith Rowe, either not involved or in it. But Bukayo Saka mainly kind of on that right wing back slot. Jesus right, and Nketiah in the middle, and Martinelli left, Tierney left wing back, Lokonga and Xhaka in the middle, Saliba, White, or Tomiyasu, and Gabriel as the back three with Ramsdale in goal. That's how a 3-4-3 would work, but I don't think that's what we'll do. I think we will stick with what we've got. I think we'll play probably the same team that played against Aston Villa. I don't see any changes really coming in, bar maybe Tomiyasu, but even then, I don't think that will happen. I think it'll be the same team again. Let's go to Viraj. He says, if Mendy was fouled yesterday because of a touch, how was Ramsdale not fouled against Villa? The questions we ask ourselves every week, Viraj. Like, it's just what we do. It's we have to just continue to question consistent decision making by officials in this league because it's dreadful. Ngoni says, do you think our record at Old Trafford is so poor because we fear them so much, regardless of how terrible the team may be? No, I don't know if it's that. I think it's more there's always weird games at Old Trafford. We have an okay record in terms of getting points, in terms of draws, but our record of wins, we have 1 win since 2006, which did come, of course, under Mikel Arteta. We have a chance. I think last year's game was a weird one. Neither team played particularly well. Odegaard gave that penalty away after scoring. I think that this game hopefully will break the mold a bit and show Arsenal's dominance and progression over what was kind of happened between now and then. But it's a big, big game for both teams. If Arsenal win, they go 4 points clear at the top. And I think, 6-9 clear of Man United if we win. And if we draw, we still are clear at the top. And it would still be, still pretty good place to be in, to be fair. Let's go to Daniel says, Tom, are you talking about easy games? Celebration police are on us. VAR robbed West Ham. Yes, I think that VAR robbing decisions and robbing opportunities for other sides is going to become a norm if it hasn't already. Let's be honest, it has already become an absolute norm. Latest on injuries, VW. As I mentioned in the show already, Odegaard, Zinchenko, White, and Ramsdale have all travelled this morning or yesterday evening. So good signs. Lynn says there will be 2 pens today, one for us and one for them, and you know who will get it. Yes, I know exactly what you mean. There will be a clear penalty for us, not given, and there'll be a questionable penalty for them, given. You can see it happening. We just know what is going to happen at this stage. Carabo says, Tom, do you think we'll increase the standard of refereeing in the Premier League if they sign referees from other countries? Not necessarily, because they've brought Jared Gillett in from Australia, and he has been, in my view, one of the poorest referees in the league so far. So, no, there's no guarantee by bringing in referees from abroad that you're going to get an improvement. It has to be, for me, it has to be improved by accountability. There has to be some kind of league table of officials that if you're a refereeing of standard is good in the Championship, that after, say, 3-4 games of consistent refereeing, you get promoted to the Premier League. And if there's 3-4 bad games in the Premier League for an official, they get relegated to the Championship. There needs to be accountability. There has to be something that pushes referees to make better decisions, to really consider what the right choice is for the sake of their own career. Why does you think about footballers who they're officiating? If they have bad games, they're dropped, they're subbed, they're sold. Officials don't have any pressure on them. They have the pressure of the crowd and the psychological and the social side of things, but there's no pressure, really. There's no pressure. I mean, VAR, in my view, has taken pressure off them. They get to look at replays of these incidents, which they've never been able to do before, and yet arguably more bad decisions are being made now. And there's more apologies coming out, and there's more analysis by former officials saying that their former colleagues are getting these decisions wrong. It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable to get these decisions wrong when this much is on the line, this much money is on the line, this much pride and world-class competition is on the line. The money involved in football these days is not acceptably kind of measured in comparison to the official standards. If we need to invest more in officiating, if we need to invest more in sanctioning, making referees more accountable, I'm all up for that. But the quality of the game is only as good as the quality of those in charge of managing the games. And right now, the quality of that is on the floor, arguably the worst it's ever been. And yet football is the most successful financial level it's ever been in its history. And yet for me, the officiating standards are at the lowest they've ever been. Just my perspective, just my opinion. Maggie says, what message would that send to the Championship? Bad refs can ref in the Championship. It's not that important. No, I think Matt, you've probably misinterpreted what I said. It's got to be a league table. So all the way through from the National League up to the Premier League, it needs to have this kind of, Championship officials should be worse than Premier League officials. It's not to say that those officials are bad, but the Premier League officials should be better than those refereeing in the Championship. The best referees in the country, just like the best players in the world, should be at the top level. So it's not about sending a message that the officiating lower down the leagues is going to be worse. It just should be. It just should be worse because the best of the best should be at the top level. So I don't think it's about sending a message necessarily, Matt. I think it's more about just the way that it should be. And the only way that we get it to be that, let's be clear. Officials that we've seen in the Premier League just stay there. They're there upon year after mistake after mistake. And maybe I'm being too ignorant of how poor the officiating is in the Championship. Maybe I don't know enough about the officiating in the Championship, and I'm looking a right fool because the officiating there is also awful. I don't watch enough games in the Championship to know. But from what I see in the Premier League, surely there are opportunities to be given to other officials to give them the chance to show that they are better than Tierney and Mike Dean previously, and John Moss and Anthony Taylor and Michael Oliver and Craig Pawson, all of these guys. Surely there are people that could be better than them. Surely. Deep Kundu says, what about putting a mic on them? That is also part of it and interviewing them. That is definitely a legitimate strategy that we should be looking to implement into refereeing, is micing them up, just like they do in the rugby, micing them up and getting them doing interviews, getting them to explain their decision-making. Absolutely. Make them more accountable for their actions. Make things more coherent. Why aren't they mic'd up? Why are they not mic'd up? I'm waiting for someone to give me a genuine explanation as to why they're not. Zuko, if you want to hear the Arsenal chat, rewind to the start of the show. We did it all throughout the start of the show. So you can quit your complaining and go and rewind, because we've done plenty of Arsenal chat. Anyway, there's going to be even more Arsenal chat on the show tomorrow morning, of course, when we react to the game against Manchester United tonight. I'm going to have to round things off there because I've got to get on my get in the car and drive all the way up to Old Trafford and back in one day. But it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. Fingers crossed Arsenal come away with a fantastic result. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Without any further ado, we are going to finish things off, though. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow morning. I'll see you at Old Trafford if you're going. And as always, up the Arsenal.